how things can come in a small family to a small building or a small community. We have our next speaker, Arul Sekar, P, who will be talking on net zero and ecological master planning of campuses. Now we have individual buildings and then to a campus. So Arul Sekar is founder of Nansey Restoration. He spearheads work on water and sustainability through integrated water management, sustainable master planning solution. He is co-founder and director of Ecologically Tribal and Rural Products Services Private Limited. Was instrumental in setting up of rural adventure tourism business. He can be contacted at arul@nansey.in, and more about his work you can find him on www.nansey.in. I request Arul to take the stage. Sir, the stage is yours.
Hello. Yeah. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Good afternoon. I think it's post-lunch, so it would have been better if the session is more interactive, but I think the kind of crowd doesn't allow that much of an interactive session. I'll just go on. Yeah. So the introduction has already been given, and I'm basically a mountaineer. A lot of work that we do, comes from the experience that we've have spent in mountains. So I'll just start with a small story, I would say. This is a story of a small village. Okay, it is on a hilltop in rural Tamil Nadu, and I've been visiting for many years, 20 years, and there is no road. We have to take a walk for 5-6 kilometers to even reach the village. And ever since I first went to this village, I've always had this question in mind. Okay, we are talking about sustainability and many things, and there you see, there is just no road. And if we are talking about in many presentations, okay, per square feet building, power consumption, so many watts, kilowatts. What is their footprint? You mean it carbon? And I mean, carbon is a very short thing. I mean, there is a whole world beyond carbon. So, and in fact, I think I missed this. This is again, the photo was taken from a small house. This is a house of a dwarf. Humanity lived thousands years before. It was discovered in one of our treks. So this house still stays. Will our house stay for 1,000 years? And I missed one other photo in this slide. I always have that the one lady carrying water, in the pot on a head and walking for kilometers to get water. But how different are we now? We all get water in our taps, house taps. But then it's consuming much, much more energy than a person walking a kilometer. Be it energy, be it footprint. If you expand the horizon, then I would say we are walking more kilometers now. By opening the tap and getting water, we are walking 10 times or 100 times more kilometers to fetch that 1 liter water. Are we developed? So that's the fundamental question I want to put across. Okay, so there is, even if you look at carbon footprint or carbon credits, it's like we are looking at it from a simplest perspective. But nature and systems that work, are more complex. So there is a major difference between complex systems and complicated systems. So I'll take you through a little journey on the fundamentals of, what I understand on water, soil and ecology, and then we will see what we could do. Okay. So this water, soil, ecology or any natural system for that matter is a complex system, which is very different from a complicated system. Complicated system, you will be able to put an algorithm. Okay, you key in this, yeah, you get this. But then complex system is a very behavioral system. It's like, it's not easy to predict. So you can't just run it like rules. When we, the idea is, if we just look at simple thumb rules and act without the vision of the complex system, then we are going nowhere. Sorry. Okay, to just explain, little more about this concept of complex systems. Okay, this is like different types of soils. Okay, you find all over. There is, can keep classifying. And technically, if we look through each type of soil, then there is something called, each and every soil has its property, its particle size, it is water holding capacity. So just say, for example, if we take 1 liter bottle and fill it with sand completely, and then if we try to pour more water into it, so it could roughly still hold about 50%, that is 400. Porosity is 50%, 40-50%. So different soil have this, but that's just one property. But then same sandy soil, if there is more carbon to it, more organic carbon, then it can hold much more water. Its property changes. So we can't look at it a soil from just, okay, silt, sand, clay perspective. So this brings in the idea of complex systems. Okay, then plant growth. The water nutrients are dispersed, microbial life. So many things are connected. When, at the end of the day, what we see and on the ground. So just to start with a little about water. So of the total water in the world, fresh water is just 3%. Just 3%. And even in that 3% of water, soil, I'm just introducing a concept called soil water. So what is it? So there is 70% of even that fresh water is available as soil water. And what water we talk about, borewell, well, aquifer, all that is only that 30% of the 3%. So there is just a lot more, to it. Just to give an example of how water dynamics works, like water, like you see water runs in the streams, right? So at what speed roughly? 30-40 kilometers per hour, you drive on the road and then you see in the rivers water flowing. So there is actually a flow of water underground as well. Underground is not like just there you just put a bore and you pull it out. So water is flowing underground. Even the place I'm standing, you're sitting, there is water moving through soil. So that's the water. That water is called soil, and it will go fill up the pores and that we call that water we use before it reaches ocean. Like the river on top reaches the ocean, the water that is percolated into the soil makes the soil lively, also goes and reaches the ocean. So in between we tap. So the whole idea of rainwater harvesting is, in a simplistic term, it is like, okay, put water into the ground and then you have it for more time. Instead of it running 30-40 kilometers per hour, it will run only at about 1 or 2 kilometers, 1 or 2 meters per day when it is in the soil. So here, flowing water of 30 feet depth. Say there is a river stream and you have sand filled. And you don't see any water on top. But then there is another stream next, just an example, comparative example. There is another stream. There is 10 feet of water flowing. So there 30 feet sand, you don't see any water on top, but there is another river stream where 10 feet of water is flowing. Actually, the first scenario is better. If first scenario, you don't see any water on top, but there is actually water moving niche. Okay? So that is equivalent to this amount, but in a slower pace. 30 feet, you just say, we just discussed that porosity of sand is more than 40-50%, and if we take up, 30 feet and 30-40%, it's again equivalent to 10 feet. So there is another interesting, in fact, through VAB network, Dr. Harinan introduced me to Dr. Arul. He has done considerable work on soil microbes and how it's interrelation. So there is actually, when, so the other main important thing is like when the soil is moist, it gives life. All microbiota and microbial life gets into action. So we cannot, what I'm trying to say is we can't look at just water as water. Okay, I treat water and then I reuse. It's not just that. Water gives life to biome, and that gives a lot of services. Like for example, as simple as the food that we eat. Everything comes from plants, and the plant nutrition is supplied by microbes. If the soil moisture is not there, we won't get our food on plate. So one thing which we have been pushing or advocating is the bore wells are a major disaster to this. So can we look at, from a construction perspective, from a builder's perspective, can we look at things like these? That is, okay, can we avoid, is it possible to avoid using bore wells and look at shallow aquifers, where you are also feeding, the soil, you are also feeding the microbes, and not only just the food, anything for that matter, for example, even nitrogen cycling. So everything, is connected to this in that way. So in simple terms, what can we do? Say cities and concrete areas, you all know it is like we call it concrete jungle, and then the runoff rainwater doesn't percolate and groundwater is not recharged, so it is causing a lot of issues to the water table, and it is just not water. It is also not letting microbial life thrive, which is providing something called ecological function. So everything nature provides some ecological function, so which we use. Like for example, so yesterday there was a discussion where, there was a talk about air purifiers. So if the nature system is intact, why do we need air purifiers? Okay, so if the lungs of the cities are lost, then obviously you may need them. But then where are we heading? Is that the direction to development? So as simple things as the stormwater drains designed in all the construction projects, can it be redesigned a little bit so that the water can percolate? It doesn't just run away. Can we look at reducing the overall flooring, concrete flooring? May not be in the building. I'm only talking some things very simple that every architect, every design engineer can adopt easily. So can the usage of open wells, be given priority instead of just simply drilling a bore and taking water from the deep? So all this something is very well within our hands. Just like the previous speaker, Mr. Rao said, so do we have the intent? That's the question. It's not like we can't do. Do we have the intent? That is one. So not just concrete. I'll go back and link to soil. So it is like soil, water, ecology is all sort of interlinked. That's why it looks like I'm, talking from here, there and there, because it's all connected. It's a great nexus. So similarly, soil, if the soil is degraded, if the soil is not healthy, it almost acts like half concrete. It also doesn't let water percolate. Now in the rural areas, there is a huge issue of water stress, and in our understanding, it's majorly not due to rainfall. Yeah, rainfall is there, variations are there, somewhere it is increasing, due to climate change it is reducing, but even more the crisis is we are losing soil, healthy soils, which is causing water problems. So there now I'm just shifting to, okay, what can we do as design engineers, as architects, as master planners? So, and we cannot just look at, there are so many, other people, other architects, and in the last couple of days also, many discussions happened on energy, water, but why aren't we looking beyond? So, so we are just trying to, just show some case studies and some things that we have done where it is possible to go beyond. Do we have the intent to do? And it's not like very costly affair. No, being sustainable is costly. Economics doesn't work out. I don't think so. It is there in one perspective. But for example, just redesigning the master plan to accommodate ecology. Just, many things are possible, certainly. So, as simple as designing roads in your plan. This may not be feasible in a, sort of a very constrained kind of a complete building space where there is no open space. But designing roads in a location will actually help biodiversity considerably. Road kills. It's not only humans that are getting killed on roads. It's more than humans, it's other insects and animals that are getting killed. So even if we just reshift, the road, the design of the road in your plan, in your master plan, from close locations that are close to biodiverse to, like for example, as simple as 20 acres, 10 acres. You may have a small little, though however disturbed, it could be a small biodiversity hotspot where you will probably find 50 more species of insects, 50 more species of plants than in your main area. But can we look at, retaining that and causing minimal disturbance to that at no cost almost? You just have to, instead of laying road here, you may have to relay the road or just lay the road elsewhere. And when we look at ecology, when we look at it little more detail and do the master planning, we'll be able to solve issues like mosquito issue, and we've done it in few places, I'm telling you. So in one case where they were doing fogging to control mosquitoes, we just advised them that the fogging is causing more mosquitoes. The reason is the fogging also kills its predators, be it dragonflies, So dragonflies are the world's best hunters. They eat mosquito on the fly. Their larva in water eats mosquito larva. So it's the balance, that we lose when we just, sort of. And another simple thing that we could do as builders and constructors. In every time I see when they just go earmark the site, put a total station, okay, get the boundary, clear flat with an earth mover. So that's where the problem starts. Okay, if we are not going to build all over, why do we have to clear the whole area? If there is some biodiversity, some shrub, something that is left, why can't we look at integrating it into the master plan? Is it going to be costly? It's actually save you money. You don't have to level, you don't have to clear. But do we have the intent? Another major issue that is happening is more than water issue, more than this, global insect apocalypse. There is a massive destruction of insect population. Though honeybees and all was documented in US and some places. And lighting is the major cause. The light's not even inside, light's outside. No one is going to be there outside in the building all the time. Why do you need a huge, a power consuming major light? Why can't we go for a low lying light or less? So light simply attracts. You would have all noticed outside in the nights, in the evenings, any light would attract insects, and then the insects predators, it's easy for them to make a kill. So it's a disaster for insects. So if we don't preserve all of them, see insects, it's like they are doing mosquito control. Like this, every species is contributing, and that even in ecological terms, it's called ecological functions, and we are using their services. Do you want the service do you want their services for free? Or do you want to bring another technology and replace their services and create another overhead for you and spend more? If your answer is you want to spend less, then why are we not taking the service of nature? Why are we not taking the services of ecology? Another important thing about ecological master planning is we'll have to look at contiguity of habitats. So it's not about tiger. See, these are all like media terms. Okay, tiger population, more focus is given. But then the small ones like, the dragonflies and minor native species are not given importance. So another major aspect of ecological master planning is ensuring habitat continuity. Say, for example, just giving an example, on one of our sites, there was like 30-acre kind of this thing. So where there is option of building in, a whole build-up area is going to come only in 10 acres, 15 acres. Okay. Where do you place the building? So you can randomly go, the architect will, sit in the office somewhere else. He would not even have visited the site. He would just draw up something that's convenient, what is conventionally done. Okay, this building has to come here, come here. Okay, maybe cutting is little, earth cutting is little less here. But then, what if you build on your major water zone, water recharge zone? What if, you're building the road in the wrong location? So, it's like I'm talking this with the difficulty that I face working with engineers and architects. And it is purely intent, and we just have to shift our thought process a little to just take their services. And after contiguity, it is we'll have to look at the layers of water, habitat assessment, like how there is a lot of interaction between. It's okay. One level is to say, okay, this many birds are there, this many insects are there, this much is the biodiversity. But what beyond? There is a lot of interrelation. For example, my ecologist, Mr. Hopeland, will know all the details, but I'm just giving you an example. One specific insects will need a specific plant to survive because it can feed only from that. There is a lot of interrelations like this. And another campus, we found out that there is a grassland, majorly, and the directors of the campus want to let's go green, and then we want to build the whole place into green, and let's plant trees, thousands of trees, in the name of greening, in the name of sustainability. But that's all disaster for some habitats. A grassland is very much needed for insects, and insects are needed for the birds. If there is an existing habitat that is dependent on the grassland, if you just simply plant trees, that's again a disaster. That's not sustainable greening. So how much do we want to go? So that's the final. One size doesn't fit all. So many dynamics that's happening around. Are we actually looking at those? Some of our one location where the grassland example I gave, that is that. So this is another campus. So we'll look at how they are interrelated. One is dependent on the other, and look at their use, water use, resource use, and then can we just not, I mean, it's not like spending more for them. Again, it's just about repositioning the buildings or shifting the road network, lighting, and all these things can be done at very minimal extra expenses. Some places it may require, if we want to change the plan. So why do we need to know all this? Reptiles, for example, if there will be human animal conflict in some, like there is a snake in the area, then we can avoid, in the master plan itself, if we plan, we can avoid many people interacting with the snake. Or we can put in best practices so that there is a reasonable balance, that one kind of a snake doesn't overtake the others. So all this is possible. We are just not looking at it in a little more detail. Coming to fauna, so why do we have to import all our landscaping species from elsewhere, and which is water taking, and why not use native species which is less maintenance? It's just about trying to sort of get used to them, and immediately to do it, because not many people are doing, the cost may be, like for example, you may find it difficult to source one specific species, but there are beautiful flowering native species, plants. And minor modification, juggling around in the zoning of the master plan could actually do wonders. And it is this local simple things that we have to do which will actually sort of save whatever we call, save the world, save the humanity, whatever. And if we are doing just one simplistic approach of, okay, organic carbon, energy consumption from this to this, I don't think that's going to take far. It is a good thing. It's a great thing. I'm not saying negating for all the hard work, but we'll have to look beyond. And all this comes to one fundamental thing in biodiversity is about structural complexity. Like for example, if I just go clear the space completely, clear in the sense as simple as just JCB leveling, then it becomes non-viable for most habitats to live. There are very specific insects, lizards, everything requires some kind of a landform that's naturally existing. And as simple as that could save. If you just, every one of you, if you just, leave 10-20% of the campuses that you are developing, if it is not needed for development, just leave it aside like that. That will do a great deal. Habitat modification, so insect diversity. And we could also do, if you just, we could also continuously monitor, and in a lot of places we have observed, when you do development, it's not necessary that it has to be very destructive. We've also seen places where we were able to sort of look at overall biodiversity health increasing. All this is possible almost at very minimal costs, or at a cost positive advantage also some locations. So is reduce, reuse, recycle enough? From an overall, and I would like to just bring upon another definition of waste. What is waste? I'm just trying to redefine waste a little more. Like I talked about the example of lady taking water. Though now we are, we get water in the taps, we are creating waste there. Because we've used up much more energy, much more, we are not efficient. So just to, for example, stubble burning is, Haryana, the Delhi issue comes up very often for many years. All these have to be given very, focus, and on what war footage we have to tackle it to our positive advantage. These can be done, but then do we have the intent again? Okay. Then the last is, okay, even if some, I mean, even Vikas was just mentioning in the previous discussion, okay, only 2%, look at ecology and this thing, 98%, what do? We look at, if people are looking at numbers. Then what has happened to solar? It just didn't come in 10 years because, it had its own advantage. So much money was pumped in. From grants to various things, and why can't we do the same for biodiversity? I'm just, raising some questions. Just that we don't have to think it's not possible. So there is so much of news coming about lake restoration, and sometimes it's like really tough to look at. But in the name of lake restoration, they would have just gone, cleared the whole space, and earlier it would have had a lot of biodiversity. In the name of lake restoration, they'll just go sort of clear the space, clear the lake, and put a neat bund. Is that lake restoration? I mean, we'll have to look at, again, biodiversity there, native species there. So rivers can be revived, and we've done it in many places. Focus on shallow aquifer. If rivers are linked to the biota, soil biota, microbiota, they are linked to wildlife, and that is linked to ecological services, and that's also linked to cost-effective water for us. Pumping water from 100, 200 feet, it's like waste. Why do we do it? Everyone does it. This is a group of village people who just joined together, and we just provided through another trust some technical support. They created a new pond, looking at all this, and it helped their water, shallow aquifers. They are because they put so many bore wells, it was failing. Then for many years they were finding it difficult to even do farming. This one village, through some minor work we did, they got to know this is possible. They just they crowdsourced fund. They raised money. Villagers who are in debt. Why can't we raise? And invested, bought a land, few acres of land, built a huge dam with a little bit of technical advice. So it's all, many things are possible. And these can be enabled through technology put to use in right way. For example, we use satellite mapping and various things, groundwater mapping and all that. We can simply use the same technology for just finding out one water, this thing, and put a bore and take it away. We can use the same technology in a very different way to ensure that our recharge becomes very effective in doing shallow aquifer, and we get water in the shallow wells itself. So what choice are we making? This is actually a traditional water management system, mostly in Tamil Nadu and so all over South. It's well established during the king's times. And one approach we do is, can we revive just those traditional systems? And another thing that we also do is replicate that traditional system in a micro scale within a farm or within a development area, because that helps shallow aquifers. Their technology was focused on that because no bore wells didn't exist then. Yes, we can use technology. This is actually aquifer mapped using latest satellite and other technologies. We can use these technologies, but then we shouldn't take our focus away from the wisdom of nature and the direction where we should go. We can use the same technology in either way. So I've been giving examples of various locations, and this is another example of a place where Dr. Hariharan also is helping us. He's mentoring us here, where we are trying to shift completely from borewell. In fact, they didn't even have water in borewell. But in a couple of years, we've got the things, such that they don't have to use borewell, but they will have water in the shallow aquifers. So it's all possible. I'm not just talking something that's impossible. And some other recent challenges, since we work with many other small locations, there's other recent challenges that we face, due to various things. Even from yesterday, there was humongous data was, given to the audience about the facts of climate change and other things. So I'm just giving few bits on what we saw. This is one place where, because of excess rainfall and not proper master planning, we have to invest more on draining water. There is excess water problem. In the last 5 years, we are finding in many areas there is excess water problem, water logging, because master planning was not done well. So isn't it waste of money? It's like we are unnecessarily investing money on some things that simply could have handled. So this is another location where there is both excess water problem during monsoon and drought in the summer. This is a Medchil industrial area in Hyderabad, where again they had a major water logging issue, because the planning of the industrial, they just didn't look at the simple waterways that existed earlier. Even in the government survey maps, the waterways are there. When they just did the construction, they just ignored, and that's happening all over. I think Bangalore is also facing huge issues because logging issues. I don't have to talk more. And this is another place where the whole panchayat has been dry. Wells, open wells are running out of water, bore wells are running out of water. We are trying to see what we can do with, with the technologies. And yes, we are also doing, we have to suggest at times to sort of revert the situation and ensure there is something is obtained. We are actually designing a transfer system, half gravity and half pumped water transfer system. So we can put all the technology. So the question is sustainably possible? The question is, do we want to do it? And if we employ technology guided by traditional wisdom, nature's wisdom, and complex systems approach, not look at as simple single system approach, there is a lot of short-term benefits also and long-term benefits. Economics is simply, I think, is not the reason. Okay, economics doesn't work. If we have the intent, I think we can really do this. Yeah, maybe depending on the situations, things will vary. But without even giving a thought and without even thinking of it being possible, this audience should not reject the alternative ideas. That's not conventionally done in architecture. That's all I want from this audience. Okay, let's take the economic route if the intent is not there. What beyond carbon credits? Can there be biodiversity credits, functional biodiversity credits? How functional is the biodiversity? Can there be water soil credits? Can there be water soil ecology credits? And just, why not? Why isn't this possible? In fact, yesterday, I think there was another gentleman who gave a talk saying, okay, 20 years before, we didn't even have a rent to pay, but then we were discussing about putting standards, green building standards then, and that's what, has. So can we sow seeds into, these ideas? Yeah. Thank you. Oh, I think I finished much earlier.
Yeah.
Okay,
Thank
great.
you very much for that. You saved my day. Okay. And I'll take quick 2 questions. Huh?
Okay.
Okay.
So when the groundwater during summer goes down, and during monsoons water comes up, groundwater level comes up, it acts like a pump. And what is very critical for microbial life under soil is oxygen. the condition is anaerobic, then it's only possible for the anaerobic loving microbiota to develop, which is most of the beneficial, most of the good microbes that we call are mostly anaerobic. So if there is more oxygen, they'll thrive more with the right amount of moisture. So all this is achieved using, if the shallow aquifer is used. If we keep doing bore wells, in fact, a number of places I have seen bore wells, just simply digging bore well is a disaster in many places. One of my friend in his village in Andhra, 10, 15 years before, we suggested, okay, let's block all the bore wells at 100 feet. Otherwise, what is happening is there are deep cavities underneath. Even dry bore wells simply connect top aquifer to bottom aquifer. And sometimes you just simply have to go and listen with your ears. You will see 24 hours a day water flowing sound, which basically means water is flowing from top to cavities that earlier didn't have water. We are just making more random connections. Then the shallow aquifer will not recharge easily. We'll have to do more work, put more water. And with climate change and other things, we may get less water, more water. So air pump is that. I just connected to a few other things. Yes, sir. Yeah.
Low aquifers by doing the recharging.
Perfect question. And
is it required then, are we justifying by doing the rainwater harvesting? We keep on saying every house should have rainwater harvesting. Without filtering, if we just discharge it in rainwater harvesting and there are low aquifers which are water flowing, how can we treat this water and then do the rainwater harvesting?
In fact, I actually missed a slide. So I think I just did a double click. There was a slide about this, and I just wanted to caution, if we are doing deep water recharge, then we have to be very careful. In fact, we do only if it is a farmland or a built up area, we ensure that the water is not polluted. Or even we don't have to do deep water recharge. Even shallow recharging is good enough, because again the natural complex system takes care. Even if you put COD, BOD higher, even heavy metals, toxic metal things are there, soil and microbes have the ability to treat to large extent. We don't have technologies.
We had open wells previously. Nowadays they are closing it. If we want to rebuild this open well,
yes, it is very much possible.
It we have recharging.
Yes,
not directly connecting it to the well.
No, directly connecting also we'll have to put a lot of filter systems. Otherwise, the turbidity levels will be high. It will look like little muddy water. So there are various micro level techniques that we have developed. In fact, we are implementing in this layout also. There are various small level, just costing 500,000 rupees recharge structures.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I request Engineer Yoga Narasimha sir to kindly give a memento to the speaker. Representative from Nikita Biltech, kindly be ready for your presentation.
Thank you so much. Thank you.